Hello, Void visitors, and welcome back to Voidtrain. So in the last episode, we got everything ready so that we could go ahead and make a kitchen. And in this episode, I'm going to go ahead and hopefully create that kitchen, and then we'll see where we progress from there. So, went ahead and looked at what we needed for the kitchen. Need to go ahead and craft the parts. We did get the iron bars and the copper bars for it, but I do have to create the things that those bars will be crafted into in order to get the kitchen completed. So as I sort of said in the last episode, I've really found it works well for us. You can see Dazzzani there floating around in the background, and it works well to have him going around the train and getting the things while at the same time I'm doing the crafting we need. We can work as a team well that way, and like in that case he asked me if I could hit the brakes so that way he could go get something else that was going to slip out of his reach if we kept moving forward. And here I'm just making sure of the last ingredient I need so that way I don't miscraft. As I said, the biggest issue we're having is wood, so the last thing I want to do is to have to make another iron bar or a copper bar. So I wanted to get that done properly here. And you'll notice here something interesting that I had not realized until I crafted this kitchen, was that I actually can create the thing, sort of, without having all the parts. Because even though I did make the copper wire that we needed, I didn't actually pick up the copper wire. So we're going to have this this oven, or this kitchen, I'm going to put right over there, get it placed down. Again, it's sort of annoying that it just puts the image over the one that you just placed down, like it does there. Takes me a moment here to realize that it's not completed for some reason. I also see this organic up here. I wanted to grab that because I am running low on food myself. And decided to take a little trip around in the void because it does get a little bit tiresome just crafting things. So here I'm realizing that I'm missing a part, but for some reason, for me, I think that I need another copper coil for this. So with that in mind, I decide, you know, I'm going to have to go craft another copper ingot. Go back over here, get all of my items topped off. Dazzzani was nice enough to give me some ice, so that way I had a bit more food. As I said, he's been the one that's sort of fishing off of the train for us while I'm getting things created on the train. So he's providing the food as well in that way, which is a nicety, and it works well as a team. So here I'm going to go ahead and create another copper bar, thinking I'm going to need it in order to finish this kitchen. Not realizing that I just did not bother to pick up the copper over on the other side there. And this very well could be, we had been recording at this point for probably 3 hours or more. So it might have just been a bit of fatigue on my part that I made this mistake. Or it could have been, you know, just staring off into the void for this long. I do wonder, with it being called Voidtrain, if we're going to have any of those type things go on in this game. I didn't look at a lot of other information on the game from other YouTube creators and such. Really, I'd seen one person's video that got me interested in the game. I knew it was a demo at that point, and I decided to try it out for myself. So here I went ahead and realized I had that coil. I finished off the kitchen, and then I decided to try it out. Because I had a feeling if you used the kitchen, that it would go ahead and cook the ingredients we had, and it would make them more nourishing. And it does turn out that I was correct here. The grilled organic, or the water bottle that you get by doing this, is actually twice as much nutrition for you as just eating the raw things. So the raw ones will give you 5% of your food bar back, but the grilled ones will give you 10%. So it does make a nice difference here. And since I'm sort of looking after the train and the things on the train, I go ahead and help Dazzzani out in the same way, and I go ahead and make him a couple of water bags here, so that way he has those to use and consume when he needs them. Again, though, the issue with this is simply the fact that it is costing us wood to do this. As I said, I'm hopeful that in the future we will have something that will sort of resolve the wood issue, and we'll just be able to have enough wood where that doesn't become a concern. I think we will. As I said, this game does strike me in a lot of ways like Raft, and Raft did take care of a similar problem in it in time where you were able to grow your own wood. So I picked up the 2 water bottles, which actually look like clay pots there, and I go ahead and put them into the storage container. Again, it's an easy way I've found of working with teammates where they can grab the things they need from it, you can grab the things you need from it, and you're able to share back and forth without having to actually occupy the same space at the same time. So now we move on to the bandages, as they're the next requirement to progress the storyline. I find that in order to do the bandages, I'm going to need the other health-related product, and in order to do that, I need this chemical. So I have to make some of the chemical, and again, wood is becoming the main issue here. I'm going to actually need 2 of these chemicals to make 2 of the sterilizers here in a little bit, and then the sterilizers will have to be made from that chemical as well, so it's going to take a lot of wood in order to do that. And basically at this point I was telling Dazzzani that this is what's going on, so he's dropping off as much wood as he can when he can, and he also brought me another piece of food, again keeping me going while I'm staying on the train for the most part. Really, I find that this game, even though it's considered early access, is really beautiful in the way it does things, because it allows you freedom to both just stay on the train and sort of do all these little odds and ends like I am for the most part in this video, but at the same time, when you feel like it, you can just jump off the train and go ahead and adventure outwards as well. It's not that you have to be assigned to one role, it's more what's best for the team. So here I realize the sterilizer is needed in order to create, or the chemical here is needed to create the sterilizer, I should say. So I go ahead and make the chemical and turn it into the sterilizer. And it's going to cost another piece of wood because, again, the conversion also has to be done this way. And once again, all of this is just to do the research. So if you think about it, I had to create the initial chemical into sterilizer to do, or the chemical in order to do the research. Then once I researched the sterilizer, I had to do another chemical into the sterilizer in order to do the research for the bandages. So already I've spent 3 pieces of wood basically on getting to the bandage point here. Now we need to create 2 bandages, which is going to mean 2 of the chemicals converted to 2 of the sterilizers. Yeah, it's going to be a bit here. So I took a minute here because I was trying to figure out where the bandages were created. I had a feeling they'd be over at the lab, but I wasn't really anxious to do that. So I noticed that just the way the train's starting to flow right now, this being moved over in sort of the opposite direction where it can be sort of approached from the front, considering that the kitchen's next to it, I felt was better. So I went ahead and turned it around here. Doesn't really affect too much. I think really it's more of an aesthetic kind of thing, but it was something that I cared about. So I wanted to switch back off the hammer because when I need to craft something, I want to make sure I had that possibility. Now that I had the sterilizer, I could see that I needed to create the 2 sterilizers in order to make the bandages there. So with that, we'll go ahead and start with the chemical. And I will put more wood into the fire. As I said, this is when the concern over wood really started to hit home for me, because I've used up so much wood in just making these bandages. Really something that was sort of frustrating in the fact that I didn't feel we even needed the bandages at the point, but it was simply to create to complete a task in the game. So here I'm stealing the other pieces of wood that are in there out. Also, I've realized I'm using quite a bit of chemicals in doing this, so I wanted to grab those as well. We've got plenty of metal still in the stockpile there because we just aren't using that much metal right now in what we're building. It's more of a chemistry project going on. So we'll go ahead and set that to go. I am curious to hear people's thoughts on this game, though. Are you enjoying watching the game? Is it a game that you're playing yourself? As I said, personally, I think for anybody who was a fan of Raft, this is definitely a game that you should try out. It has a lot of Raft-like vibes, and on top of that, I really just feel like it falls into that same vein, but in some ways I think it's much more creative, because there have been plenty of stories of sort of the abandonment in the ocean type idea. So that's not exactly new. This, on the other hand, being abandoned in what really can't be considered outer space, but just some other realm, that's unique. That's a bit different. So we got the 2 bandages completed here, and now it says use the bandages, which really was frustrating to me because I'm not injured. We haven't encountered anything really to injure me yet. But in order to progress the story, I have no choice but to waste what I had just wasted so much in creating and go ahead and use one of them. So that's evidently how it's used, and it was an utter waste. But I will go ahead and put the other bandage into the storage, so that way if we were to need it at a point in time, we do have it available. I also went ahead and got the wood that was brought in out, so that way that's a good thing. We've got it available. And then, as I said, the bandage went in. We could put another storage container in probably. It might be something we have to look at soon enough here. But for right now, it wasn't something I was terribly concerned about. I was starting to definitely get low on food though, so I decided to grill up a couple pieces here, even though we didn't have too much wood left. I wanted to see, for one, how much wood was consumed by grilling. And I will say the kitchen doesn't seem to consume nearly as much wood as does a lot of the other things. The one that I find is the worst, personally, is the lab. I feel like it consumes wood at a much higher rate. So, grilled up these 2 pieces here. Still struggling to get used to the buttons. As I said, I mean, realistically, yes, this is the 4th video on it, but this was only my first day playing the full version of the game, so still getting used to how it plays. Here I wanted to top off my organics stockpile, so I had a decent amount there. I only wanted to keep one section of them, though. Oh no, I do take... Oh, and what I do is I'm going to go ahead and plan on grilling those 2, so we have some food prepared, so like when Dazzzani needs it, he has some as well. So now we're going to work on a garden, which things that I like about this is, it says it unlocks the recipes for void plants and strange plants. I'm hoping one of the 2 of those is a plant that I can grow that will burn like wood. That would be a good thing. So at this point, I'm going ahead and getting all the ingredients I can together for it. But if you notice, one of the ingredients we're going to need is wood. And just in order to get the other pieces that I need together, I'm having to use some of the wood that I had. So, as I said, it is becoming a major issue, and I really don't have enough in order to make this garden project right now. But I figure I will get everything else set up, so that way as soon as we get some wood, we can go ahead and do the garden this next time, or at least do the research for the garden. Problem is, I know that's just the research, and then we're going to need even more wood most likely in order to craft the thing. So we did actually get the research done. I had forgotten that. I thought we were still on the research process. So now we actually are at the step where we can do an armory and stuff. We will have the ability to do guns, it looks like, at that point, which is going to be a great thing, except it's going to cost us even more wood that we don't have right now. But for now, the biggest thing that I was focused on was I want to get a garden set up, because I really want to be able to hopefully start producing our own wood, if that's a possibility. I don't know. I'm assuming it's also going to cost us in ice to do that, but I don't know that either. So here I'm looking at the ingredients that are necessary and starting to make the things that we'll need for the garden. At the same time, sort of unbeknownst to me almost, Dazzzani's been up to a lot. He hasn't found any more wood, sadly, but he has gotten us a decent amount of other goods that will be useful in the future, and he's also pulling us up to something. He said something was in front of us, but he didn't say exactly what. And at this point, as I said, I'm sort of busy collecting my items I need for the garden, knowing already I'm going to be short that wood unless he can find it, and not realizing what's coming up in front of us. So I go ahead and make the bolts that we'll need, get those crafted. I do love using the workbench and stuff, which doesn't cost any wood. That's always a nicety. So we got that taken care of. I was checking here to see if we had any more wood in here that I could just steal from so I could make a garden box. We did not, unfortunately, but I was able to cook up one of these pieces of organic, so that was a good thing. And then off in the distance here, you can make out a couple different things. First of all, we have a void gate up ahead of us. And then secondly, off to the side here, there was something else that was visible. So here I'm combining things together, trying to make some extra room in there. As I said, we really do need to make another box, but that's going to cost us wood. We don't have it, so we're just going to have to deal with it. But yes, off to the side here you can see two different things. A giant chain in the air, and then also this ribbon that goes off to the side. And then there's that giant light over the void gate. So we had decided we were pretty much coming to the end of the time we wanted to play for this particular day. So we figured, let's go ahead and save going through the gate for the next episode. But we did want to take a look at some of what was going on around the gate here, as it does look impressive overall. Then I decide here I am running a bit low on health, so I'll go ahead and consume this piece of meat. I'm calling it meat because it cooks up and looks like chicken. But yes, so that's what we have ahead of us, is going through the void gate in this next episode. But I hope you did enjoy what we did in this episode. As I said, it was a lot of crafting that was going on, but if you did like what we did, please go ahead and click that like button. If you've not already, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, so that you're aware when I produce new videos in the future. Thank you. I hope to see you all in the void.